Okay, here we go. Here we go. Right. Sound check. Good. Sounds good. Good. Right. And we're live. Hello, everybody. Livestream is live, so get your questions coming in, and we'll try our best to answer them. Right, let's see what people have to say. Rangers are the best. Hello, Yellow Skull. How you doing? You good? So, who's got what questions to ask this evening? Any questions, anybody? Because this live stream doesn't work unless you ask the questions. Because I don't particularly want to drone on and on about crap, really. No, he's Usain Bolt has no chance at football success. He may be a good like five-a-side player playing kickback with his mates, but he has been doing a different sport his entire life. And just because he's got the core strength and the physicality for it, as in he's fit enough to do it, then that's one thing. But he hasn't ever had to really play in a 90-minute match. No news about Rangers. I haven't seen anything come up on the news wise, but Easter weekend fixtures will be very, very interesting. There's going to be some bad weather coming, so I don't know if the weather's going to affect the fixture list of all sports this weekend up in the UK. We're meant to have some snow apparently. But back to Usain Bolt. No, I don't think he will have any chance of football success. Look at his age. If he was going to make the transition, he would have had to do it when he was still a teenager, when he was starting out as an amateur. I think. Hopefully, Thistle Rangers can go ahead. I don't know what the weather's going to do yet. We've had thunderstorms down here in the south of the UK, and hailstorms and heavy rain, and the temperatures drop like a stone. So there's a big chance of snow. So hopefully the fixture goes ahead. That'd be a very interesting derby match, though. Very, very interesting derby match. I'll expect it to be a 3-1 to Rangers. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3-1 the other way. That's how derby matches work. It's what happens on the day, what the players feel. Then you have the advantage. If you're at home, you have the advantage over Partick Thistle simply because it's Ibrox. It doesn't matter how good or bad Rangers have been in the season because you're Ibrox. Yeah, Um, if you can be too quick for your own good because you've got to be able to, keep up with, you know, your teammates have got to be able to keep up with you, and you've got to be able to play within a team. So individual attributes that Usain Bolt has, because he does play football as a hobby, is different to playing it as a sport for 90 minutes, week in, week out. His body, the way he's built for sprinting. That's what he's trained his body muscles to do. His muscle memory. He wouldn't last more than 5 minutes in a football match because he's trained himself muscle memory to be a sprinter. So he'll tire quicker than someone like a Jamie Vardy, for example, who's been playing football his entire time. Even though Jamie Vardy's quite quick, he can carry on, keep that running going because he's trained his body to do a 90-minute stretch, whereas Usain Bolt does it in 20 seconds. It's all about how your muscle memory and how you train your body and how everything comes together. That's why I don't think he'll make it. If he wants to do it, he can do charity games, yes, but as a professional, no. Usain Bolt has absolutely no chance of being a professional football player. He could try out on the non-league, for example, or semi-pro leagues, but I don't think he'll make it. Even though he's got the build for it, I don't think he'll make it. Yeah, that's the thing. He will, because he's trained his body to be a sprinter for most of his life since he was a kid. Um, that is a problem. He also has a spinal condition. Yes, he does have a slight curvature of the spine. So if he was to get a back injury, that could be quite serious. I think he is obviously playing this charity match at the end of April, May time. Um, I think that's why it's all in the headlines that he's doing these training sessions with Dortmund is for this charity match. But I think that's as far as it goes with Usain Bolt. I don't think he goes on to play at a high level. He could end up playing because he's made millions. He could end up playing in the non-league, but I don't think he can carry it on for more than a flash in the pan type thing. But then again, you also have those quick players that are impact players that come off the bench and create an impact and create chances. Um, he could, but in athletics, he was rumored that he could move to long jump or triple jump because you need a fast run up to do those events, and then he's got the stride to do the long jump or the triple jump because he's such a tall, rangy athlete. But the only other thing I could think of was he's possibly speed skating, short track speed skating. He's got the leg muscles to do it. He would be brilliant. Bobsleigh, sprinters have gone to bobsleigh before. Yeah, no, I haven't. I've had a few other things to do, I'm afraid. There's other things going on my end, but I will get on Xbox when I can. But I don't worry, your friend request will still be there. It will come up in my newsfeed on Xbox Live, so don't worry, I will still be about. It's just at the moment, there's a few things going on that I have to juggle at the moment. But back to Usain Bolt and a crossover sport, he could go into bobsleigh. Sprinters have done that before. Sprinters make very good bobsledders because they've got the leg power to drive the sled off. He could go into long jump, triple jump. But with the age he is, I think he's close to retirement now, and he will, retire. He's made his money, and he'll go into doing charity work and other things. Probably open up like a restaurant or something. Most sportsmen do that. Yes, I do. I know one or two flying around. I know more Celtic fans than Rangers fans. A few of my friends are Celtic fans, um, but I barely know any Scottish football fans. If anything, I know about 4 Celtic fans and 2 Rangers fans. So that's it. That is the limit of my Scotland footballing knowledge. Is a couple of Old Firm fans. Um, Sorry to say that, but is what it is. Most of my mates aren't really into football. If I'm honest, most of my mates are actually in other sports, so it's difficult for me. You're gonna get them. You're gonna get them. Big cities, people move around a lot with work, and you find in these urban areas all around the world, you will find you're a Huddersfield fan. You live in Australia. That's the madness of it. Um, I've I've been in London and I've seen Corinthians shirts from Sao Paulo in Brazil. I've seen almost every football shirt you can think of, um, and rugby shirt and ice hockey. But it's the old firm. Yeah, you have to admit, without Celtic, the old firm isn't really worth. Football, Scottish football without Rangers and Celtic and Hibs and Hearts would be a lesser. It would, if they were to go into the English league system, Scottish domestic football would be a mess, and it would kill off the other Scottish clubs without the big 4 or 5, 6 clubs. If you were to join up with the English league, it would be a disaster for Scottish football. So you have to have someone to hate. That's why the Scottish league itself needs to look at what's going on domestically. For all the hate of Celtic you may have, without the rivalry of Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, Motherwell, for example, you can't sell the TV deal. You can't put bums on seats. You can't get people to watch because of the heated rivalry these clubs have. You take them and put them in the English league, Scottish domestic football, dead water. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to hang Celtic for the rest of your life, I'm afraid. Scottish football itself has to have a sit down and work out why, over the last 20 years, it's gone down the toilet in quality and it is sad. But Scottish football, all the Scottish football clubs, rich and poor, big and small, have to sit around the table and work out where they're going wrong, why they're losing fans, why there are empty stadiums, why the quality of player is not as good as it was 20 years ago, why you're not producing your Dalgliishs anymore, your McCoists, your Colin Hendrys, why those Scottish players aren't being produced anymore. And you have to look at why. And you've got to work out a way to keep the league financially viable. And I think combining the top 2 leagues would be the way to do that, because the Scottish Premiership as it is now is stupid format, too small. You see each other too regularly. You've got to go on like an English model, combining the leagues together to make a Premiership and then a Division 1. Well, you have a lot of fans. You don't have a lot of money. Behind the scenes, Rangers have big financial problems because Mike Ashley has given you guys a big loan. Mike Ashley has a lot of say in how the club is run. He doesn't officially own it, but you, the club of Rangers, owe Mike Ashley money. The only reason he's one of the reasons why Rangers are still in the Premier League, and it's not because you had to get re-promoted and go through all that. It is he gave you guys a massive cash loan with it's interest free, but you still owe him money, and it kept you going because he wanted to sell Newcastle and buy Rangers, and of course he hasn't sold Newcastle yet, so he can't buy Rangers because the chances, in theory, are there that you could meet each other in the European competitions, and then match fixing is a big possibility, and a conflict of interest. But you have the fan base; it's just the money side of things. That's the issue with Scottish football: is there are fans there, clubs are poorly run. And it wasn't that long ago that Celtic had the money problems. I think before we were born, but Celtic had money issues 20, 30 years ago. So it's happened to the 2 big clubs in Scottish football that money has been a problem at times, and ownership and how the clubs are run. Let's hope so. Let's hope that positive things off the pitch can happen for Rangers. You're looking better and better each year, but there is still a big gap there. And because of the lack of competitiveness of Scottish football, that's a worry. That's why I'm concerned by the fact that the Premier League is too small. It needs to combine with the Scottish Championship to be similar in size to the other top flight European leagues of about 18, 20 teams. Until that happens, Scottish football is not going to become competitive enough. And so it will be very few clubs with money and more clubs without. And that is an issue Scottish football needs to look at, and they need to sit down with all the owners, Scottish FA, and work something out. Because at the moment, it's going nowhere. No question. The growth of urban exploring abandoned. I do it. I do it. There's loads of abandoned houses near me. There's one literally 2 street around the corner from my house. So my house faces southwards. So this is the back. My window's there. That's south. Just to the north of my house, just around the corner, 50 meters from my house, abandoned house. No faces over there. You go right, and there's another abandoned house. There's 2 abandoned houses within 2 minutes walk of my house. I got there's loads of abandoned houses around where I live in the UK. There's big mansions, small cottages. They're all over the place. I wouldn't necessarily call it a sport, but it's a hobby. I do it. A lot of people do it. There's a lot of channels on YouTube which have people who urban explore. Um, I would call it more of a hobby and a very risky hobby as well. And riding around on my motorcycle, I've come across loads of abandoned houses, and I'll get back to that. League One, we're third. It's not great. I'm a Blackburn fan. We are playing tonight. Our game is taking place now against Bradford. Hopefully, we're at home, so hopefully we win that. It is. You can see the difference between League One and a top level Championship side. You can see that there is a difference. The Football League structure, League Two, League One, Championship. You can see the difference between all the leagues. And Championship, Premiership, I think the gaps in those leagues in quality is closing, but they are still there. And it's all about how clubs develop and get the right group of players together and progress through. But it is a step below Championship by a long way. There is a golfing class. But back to the, I think they had games in hand, but Blackburn, Shrewsbury, and Wigan, there was a couple of points, couple of 3 teams, and then the rest of the league is nowhere close. Shrewsbury are the only team in there that aren't an ex-Premiership side. Wigan and Blackburn have been Premiership sides in the last few years. So Shrewsbury are the odd ones out. They were expected to get relegated to League Two. One good side is going to end up in the playoffs, and 2 good sides are going to get direct promotion. It is exceptionally tight at the top of that table. It's the tightest top table fight in the English football pyramid. The other leagues, there's a clear gap between first and second. This one is exceptionally tight, and it's going to come down to the final day of the season. We're playing one of our games in hand tonight. So it's going to come down to the last day of the season, and we shall see what happens. I put the playoffs. It's a lottery, but it is what it is. We shall see what happens. Last day of the season, I think it will come down to. The thing is with urban exploring, there's ways of doing it, and I've done it. I never film anything because people can go, "That's my house," and I can get in crap because certain people may go, "I went on holiday," and someone, But there's a couple of big mansions near my house that are pretty intact, and the things you've got to be careful for are unstable floors, unstable ceilings, unstable walls, and it's not the asbestos, because all you've got to do is go in with these types of things. Get yourself a little dust respirator, get yourself some goggles, and that should generally filter out a lot of the crap that you would possibly breathe in. The things you've got to be wary of are the drug addict hobos who are living in the abandoned house. That can be quite risky, because a lot of squatters find these abandoned houses, live in them. They can get a bit nasty. You've got to look out for drugs, heroin needles, crack pipes, that kind of thing. Well, VAR at the World Cup, I think what they're doing with the VAR, I'm not sure on it, because I'll get to the penalty bit. I'm not 100% certain on it, because the way it's been tested in the UK and Germany is different. The way they're doing it in Germany, they've gone with for the whole season. They haven't come midway through the season. That's why the German referee did the VAR awarding for the penalty, because he's used the system in his way of interpreting the rules. I'm very surprised that there are only two leagues that are experimenting with it, or two countries. That's England and Germany. I'm very surprised other leagues aren't. Um, the the penalty decision isn't. It all comes down to putting Kieran Dyer, not Kieran Dyer, Dyer, Eric Dyer, not Kieran Dyer. Ugh. When Southgate takes John Stones off and puts Eric Dyer at centre back, that leads to the penalty because he's not a centre back. I was not overly impressed with the England performance. I don't believe what the papers are writing saying. It was a great performance. There's plenty of problems in that England side. Um, when we attack with pace, we're fine. When we counter attack with pace, we're fine. Anything else is slow, plodding, obvious, and you saw how the Italians defended when it was slow and plodding and obvious. Two banks before. Was it a penalty? It's up. That is the interpretation of the official. There was contact. He did tread on his foot. I felt Kyle Walker's reaction to it was disgusting. If you look at that, some of the players were showing a lot of pathetic petulance. So, in my eyes, Oxlade-Chamberlain was an idiot for kicking the ball away, deserved a yellow card for that. Ashley Young was lucky he didn't get a second yellow for calling the referee a fucking prick, because that was picked up on the pitch side microphones. And he had been injured off the field of play. He rolls back up. That's time wasting. Using VAR, and we have no officials going to the World Cup. So it makes no logical sense to use it then if only one officiating country, which is Germany, is officiating using VAR this season or learning it. Well, yeah. This is the thing. I did a video on the fact that no English refereeing teams are going to the World Cup this year, and it's highlighting a trend. It's not that we don't have referees. People my age who may have played the sport and think, okay, I can't go in for a tackle anymore. My knees are a bit gone, or I've got a bad back, but I can officiate or coach. I'll be put off because the professionals look how they treat the refs. The fans are just as bad. The media is not great, but it's when the players are effing and blinding at you, homophobic slurs at you, racial slurs at you, whatever the slur may be. The way they behave is putting people off. So, but rugby, no, rugby is different. You will see big lumps of men kicking the crap out of each other for 80 minutes. But as soon as the referee blows his whistle and goes penalty or free kick, you may see the captain or the vice captain or the player involved go, sorry, what's the penalty for? And you will see regular communication between the players and the officials about what isn't, what the decision is. Notice they never swear. And some of these guys are 6'8", 6'9", massive hulks of men, and they are so polite. Rugby league's a bit different. They can lose it a little bit in rugby league, but again, they still are better behaved than football players. But I've done a video highlighting the fact we haven't got an officiating team going to Russia. If you haven't seen it, I think it's the latest video I've done on the channel about half hour before I put this live stream up. So it's up there, and you can watch it if you wish. But these are some good points you've already raised, guys, and it's very early in the live stream. We've got a long way to go. I want to keep this going for about 2.5 hours. So let's see what questions you guys can ask and what I can answer. Really, it's cold and wet at the moment where I live in England. It's cold and wet. Shit is the answer. I'm not enjoying it. Cold and wet. I don't know what weather's doing in Scotland, but it has been pissing down with rain all day here. We've had a couple of flashes of lightning. We've had hailstorms. We've had fog, and the temperature is dropping day on day. And there could be snow down here in the London area as well. It's getting colder, and the weather's changed direction, so we could have snow in April. It is April the 1st. Let me work this out. Yeah, on Sunday it's April the 1st. So on the day of my next live stream is April Fool's Day. We could have snow at the beginning of April, which is not unheard of, but it's rare. And that's why I'm concerned about some of the sporting fixtures going ahead, because with this rain hitting the pitches, it could freeze them. The pitches could get frozen or waterlogged. And Bradford have had a couple of games. Bradford City have had a couple of games called off because their pitch has been waterlogged more than once. And Rochdale had to replace their their pitch. They've had to relay their pitch because it kept getting waterlogged and ripped up. So I'll be very interested to see what the weather does the next few days. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does snow at some point. Whether it settles and stays around is another thing entirely. But that could affect the sporting fixtures of rugby and football. And actually, the cricket season starts, so snow could stop playing the cricket as well. The county cricket championship starts as well. So that could be interesting. But good questions though. That is interesting. The weather is not great at the moment. It's stopped raining for now where I am, and I'm 30 miles west of London. I don't know where Kemmel lives in London, but I know he's a London boy, and I know you're a Glaswegian. Honestly, the weather is so changeable at the moment. But at the moment, I think it's just stopped raining and it's just clearing up, which basically means it's going to freeze. And South London ain't that bad. I mean, you got Catford and Shoreditch and all those lovely places. Dartford, lovely places in South East London. I've got a lot of friends in South East London, so for me, London is London. I've got friends all over north, south, east, west. I've got friends in almost every area of London. And Greenwich is not that bad. It's you got some nice stuff in Greenwich. The original home of Arsenal. Arsenal actually started in Greenwich, not high, and they weren't North London club. They were a East London club in the early days. Hence why they're called Arsenal, because the Woolwich Arsenal is not too far from Greenwich, and they used to. Well, the thing is, Scottish football is very, very used to the weather conditions that you get up there. There's been a lot of snow this winter as well. I don't know how. I haven't really been following the Scottish League as much as other leagues, but I know a lot of games have been abandoned and called off at various times this season. Especially over the last couple of months, we've had a lot of snow across the whole of the UK, not just in Scotland. Um, but with the way looking out the window now, with the rain easing off and the cloud blowing over, the temperature could drop down here. And with the temperature dropping, there's a risk that they can't grit the roads because they're just covered in water, and that will do nothing. It could all freeze to a sheet of ice. That's the risk we have up and down the UK. So we shall see what the weather does. It will have a part to play in sporting fixtures this weekend, but I would expect Ibrox to be fully prepared for that eventuality. They've got pitch covers, they've got undersoil heating. I'll be very surprised if Rangers Partick gets called off. It's just how many effects will it have on the wider league as a whole. That's what would be more interesting than anything. Any more questions, guys? We've had some good questions so far, but let's try and keep it going. Well, good luck to you. I mean, as far as I know, we haven't had any weather warnings for the bad weather. We have the possibility of some passing snow showers, sleet, rain, and hail. We've had it all down here today, apart from the snow. Um, so hopefully, I don't know what the policy is on reimbursing you if the game is called off. I don't know how you would get your money back and stuff if you've already pre-booked your ticket. But it'd be good. It'd be hopefully it's a good watch and the weather holds up and it's a good game. That's my honest opinion on it. I don't really follow the Scottish League as much as I used to, and I've still got to do you a Rangers video. So I've got to do me some research on your team, and I'm going to do a brief history of Rangers video for you. I don't follow the Scottish League enough for me to understand it all. And okay, back on cricket. Well, okay, so far today, I don't know what the news has been over in Australia for you, because some of the news was coming out while it was the middle of the night for you. But Lehman's gone. Darren Lehman, the coach, has quit. He's leaving after the next Test match, so he's still in charge for another 6 days at most. Warner he's the guy behind the whole thing entirely. So I'm linking. The reason why I theorise there could be match fixing involved is because he's got a link to the IPL. The IPL has links to match fixing and spot fixing. Cricket does already have a problem with match fixing and spot fixing in the game, and for the way that they were so cack-handed and useless in the fact that they were tampering the ball so obviously and covered it up so badly, and then they lied about it. Um, I fear. I could be wrong. It's just a theory. I fear there are darker forces at play. There is no way the bowlers wouldn't know. A South African friend of mine who drinks at the same pub I do, um, we were talking, we were discussing it, and he follows the channel. I don't know if he's a subscriber, but he does watch some of my videos. He might keep his subscription private, but we were talking about it, and there is no way none of the bowling unit would have known what they were doing. There is no way the coach wouldn't know because the Cape Town changing rooms at Cape Town are tiny. My room is not that big. It's a sizable bedroom, but it's not huge. Cricket Australia have covered something up here. I wouldn't be surprised if more stuff comes out the woodwork as time goes on. We'll have to see what the next days, weeks. We'll have to see what happens in the fourth test first and foremost, because Lehman's still coaching until the end of the fourth test, which means the one days and the T20s there's no coach for the Australian side whatsoever. Then we have to look at after the fourth test, because Steve Smith gave his blubbering press conference, which I thought was just cringe. A short statement with Gunn saying, "Look, okay, I've let everyone down." I think he's now milking the emotions a little bit. Bancroft has been told by Somerset he's not playing as one of their overseas players in the county cricket this summer in England, so he's now lost out on his contract. They've lost out on their IPL contracts. So first class cricket has said, no, we don't want you in the game while you're banned by Australia. I don't know if these guys ever play ever again. I think Smith and Bancroft will probably get some kind of redemption. Most likely Bancroft is the most likely to get some kind of redemption. I'm not so sure on Smith. Warner's done. He's cooked. He's at it. His silence though is very telling, very very telling, because you have to think that he was the one who came up with the idea. Allegedly, this is how the story goes. He was the one who led the idea of let's tamper the ball to gain an advantage, either to get a replacement ball or to get more movement off the ball or more spin off the ball. But why they would use someone so inexperienced at test level to do it is beyond me. How the coach didn't know, because the coach is always part of the leadership group of the team, is beyond me. So honestly, I think there's more to this story than what we've been told in by the media. I think Warner is done as a player, but I wouldn't be surprised if match fixing was involved in this some way. If they were trying to do a spot fix or a match fix, I wouldn't be surprised. But well, I'll say this: Smith showed how naive he was and how emotionally how unmature he was. He wasn't mature enough to be captain. He's not emotionally mature enough to be captain because he couldn't keep it together. He was allowed to be swayed by a very experienced player in David Warner. Now Warner's not a very popular guy, so for him not to stand up and say, "Look, I'm captain. You've had an idea. I disagree with it." That makes me wonder. So I the whole Australia cricket thing. I'll have to get back to that. Would I be surprised if? No, I wouldn't be surprised because they're the hosts, and the hosts normally do quite well in World Cups. South Africa did reasonably well when they hosted. Okay, they didn't get out of the group, but they did reasonably well. But with what's going on around match fixing and corruption and football violence, I don't know what this World Cup holds, Kevin. I really don't. Oh yeah, there's match fixing is rife in Russian football. Half the hooligans are police and army officers, so Russian football is not Russian sport is not just doping scandals, but match fixing as well. The ice hockey league in Russia is fixed, but SKA, the St. Petersburg team, they're allowed to breach the salary cap. They're allowed to sign as many players as they want, and they've loaded it with all the star players, and they have to win. The playoff series they're in with the other team. It's a known fact. It's Putin's team. They have to be allowed to win the league this year. English Premier League, it's overpriced. We've had this discussion about prices of tickets in last. I think I can't remember which live stream it was. The price of tickets in the Premier League is too high. I think it's too many foreign players. The atmosphere at grounds is good, but also can be toxic at the same time. There's a lot of pros and cons. The Premier League has brought in a lot of money and has raised the profile the profile of the sport was already high anyway. But the fitness levels have improved of players. The revenues for the clubs have gone up, but clubs are still financially struggling. There's been some pros and cons. The Premier League has you know reduced hooliganism because of all the stadiums, but at the same time, a lot of clubs are in debt. Tickets are unaffordable. No, I don't think the Scottish clubs would do very well. You have got the fan base. It's the travel you've got to take into account and the expense of that travel because you'll most likely fly a lot of the time. And the distances as well. Your fans are a loyal bunch, but Glasgow is not the richest city in the UK, and it would cost you guys a fortune. It really, really would. I'm not sure how you would do. I'm glad the idea didn't go ahead, because I think if you and Celtic or Aberdeen, or whatever club was, because the idea was brought up about 20 years ago and carried on being brought up until about, I would say, 10 years ago. That Celtic and Rangers, then Rangers hit, and then your club hit financial problems, and then it all went away. And I'm kind of glad it did, because your league has enough problems. English football has problems as well. It's not all plain sailing south of the border. There's a lot of issues within the sport as a whole. There are a lot of issues. That's the problem. Celtic and Rangers fans wouldn't go to, let's say, Celtic, Liverpool, or Rangers, whatever. They would only go to the Old Firm games, which is twice a season. And then you've got a few fans going down to all the away games. I wouldn't be surprised if the home games didn't sell out very well either. That's the problem. You've got to sell the tickets, and after a while, that luster wears off. The enjoyment of seeing all these teams for the first time wears off, and then it's just back to. Can you imagine yourself going to Bournemouth for an away game, or any Celtic fans going down the south coast for an away game, or Rangers fans or Aberdeen fans? I really don't see how that is sustainable. The round trip is insane. There's no direct flight from Bournemouth to Aberdeen. I'm not sure if there's a direct flight from Glasgow to Bournemouth. They've both got airports, but I don't know if there's a direct connection. That would be insane. That's a 1,200-mile round trip thereabouts. That is madness. You would have to book 2 days off work, one on the Friday, one on the Monday, just to go watch the game on the Saturday, just to make sure you have time to get there and back. It wouldn't work. It's a great utopian idea to combine all the leagues in the UK, but then very few clubs. But if you're only going to go to one away game or two away games and all the home game or a couple of home games because you want to see the Old Firm, then it doesn't actually benefit your club or the other clubs that are involved in the league. The fans need to buy into every away game, every home game, and that's the issue. Is that okay? Going to Newcastle isn't that bad. It's not that long a journey, but imagine going to Bournemouth or Southampton as a Rangers fan once a season each. Then you're not including all the FA Cup and League Cup games. Now that'd be insane. I don't think it would never work. Whoever came up with the idea had the right intentions, but I just don't think it would work. It would probably be in the long term more ruinous for all the clubs involved because of the extra travel. And with Rangers with money problems as well, I'm not sure, because then the players' wages will have to be higher because Scottish Premiership wages seriously, you've got to work out the distances. You've also got to work out the player wages for Scottish Premiership versus English Premiership. The English Premiership is double, 3 times as high the average wage. I don't think that's sustainable. That is that's quite possibly one of the longest away days. Possibly you've got to look at the MLS as well. That could be one of the longest away days. That is mad. This is why some of these these bigger nations that are struggling. This is why the US has issues with football, um, because the salaries in football are higher than almost any other sport apart from NBA basketball. I don't I don't know how sustainable the MLS can be. I mean, they want to become another major. They are the fifth major leagues in Canada. They're growing it. I don't know. Um, this is the issue. But Ibrahim out there, their careers. People see the MLS as a retirement home for European American football players. 30s. They've had a few niggling injuries. They're not always fully fit. They can't survive more than 50 minutes, but they go out there to retire because it's cushy money and the style of play is not as intense. And the playoff structure makes no sense to me because it's American style playoffs and stuff like that. Makes no sense to me. See, 5,500 kilometers is that's mad. That's probably why the A League isn't as big as it could be. It would make more sense if you had A League West and A League East, state leagues, and then the winners of all the state leagues were to play like a knockout competition or something. But the Australian Soccer Federation have been the driving force behind the A League. We shall see what happens. No, at the moment we're playing in the first round, but not all the playoff. We've got our guaranteed our playoff place. We don't know where Minnesota, Colorado, Anaheim, St. Louis. It all depends where other teams end up there because those two third places in both divisions aren't certain in the Western Conference. So at the moment, no, I'm not worried about playing Minnesota Wild in the first round as a Jets fan. No, I'm not. I think we've had the better form. We've finally got some depth. I know Minnesota, but Minnesota have a thing about failing in the first or second round of the playoffs. I'm not so sure. Brazil have only won the World Cup in Europe once in Sweden in 1958. South American teams tend to not win the World Cup in Europe. It will be interesting. It all depends on if they can keep Neymar fit. They can be disciplined at the back because Brazilian defending is sometimes interesting. And how they link Neymar into the tactics. It depends on various outcomes. They can do it. We shall have to wait and see on this Brazil side. But I'm not making any comments on the World Cup because, firstly, we're a bit too far out. And secondly, there's so many issues surrounding this World Cup and the next World Cup that it will be difficult to predict who will win. I'm probably going for Germany or Belgium, to be honest. But it also comes down to how well you can travel the distances. So where you select your home basing and how far you have to travel in the group stage will have a bearing on what happens in the knockout stages because the travel and the jet lag will start kicking in as the tournament progresses and as the tournament goes on. I mean, Brazil in the last World Cup, if you look at 2014, there was a lot of distances that teams had to travel. You see, the Italians have had a problem for a long time. Their league is diminishing in quality. They're not producing the young players they used to, and they were too reliant on older players that were well past their best. Who can still play. I do think Belgium could be the champions, but at the same time, they've proven in the last two tournaments that they can choke under pressure as well. So with this group of players that they have to their third chance as a group. They have to win now. But Roberto Martinez, as a club manager, his defensive side of the game, he was very lax in his tactics defensively, and that's more about what managers should do. I do not understand overcoaching attacking play. They have the attacking talent. Let them play with freedom. Let Eden Hazard roam around. Let De Bruyne pick up those passes. And if they have Lukaku or who's the other bloody forward? There's two Belgian forwards, Lukaku and Benteke. That's the one. Whoever's up front, you've got to also be able to cross that ball in, and they've got to make movement in the box. Defensively, Vincent Kompany, if he doesn't stay fit, that is an issue. He is a key part of this Belgium side. So if Vincent Kompany can't stay fit, that could be a problem. France do have a lot of depth, but at the same time, at recent tournaments, they've had a lot of discipline issues where they've fallen out with each other with the coach. They threaten to go on strike there. So team discipline with France is a problem. Eden Hazard, yeah, I said that. It's Lukaku and Benteke are the two big lumps centre forwards they have. They need to allow Eden Hazard to roam in his pocket and De Bruyne to the freedom just to ping the passes. I think if you really overcoach attack, you coach the flair out of the players, and then it's just stale, standard, easy to defend. But Roberto Martinez, his flaw as a coach is his defensive coaching is not good enough, as proven at Everton and at Wigan, defensively all over the place. Great going forward, useless in their own half. That's where Belgium will have problems is defensively, I think. But this group of players now has been together for a good 2-3 years. They should, or 2-3 tournaments, sorry. They should have enough now to be a dark horse, definitely, if not an outside favourite to win the whole thing. But we'll have to see what happens because we've still got all the league seasons to finish. Injuries can happen, suspensions can happen. So we have to look how all these players finish the league seasons off for their clubs, who stays injury free, and we'll have to go from there. But Belgium do have a chance, absolutely. So do France. I'm just going to be happy to every club that's in Europe believes they can win the Champions League next year. The issue with Scottish football is, for some reason, the way they do the qualification for Europe Scottish football, you have to go through the qualifying round. So I love your enthusiasm, but I don't know if Rangers are ready to make that step up just to compete in the Champions League in the group stages. They haven't been in the Champions League group stages for a very long time. Celtic get to the Champions League group stages and more often than not struggle to get out the group. Notwithstanding a few classic wins over Barcelona, they struggle to get do anything in the group. And that sums up Scottish football at the moment. There's not enough young talent coming through, and there's not enough money in the game. Champions League group stage, and occasionally they do pull off those wins against Barcelona that we've seen. They seem to get drawn with Barcelona a lot in the group, which doesn't help your chances, but they've rarely got out the group in the last several seasons. And sometimes they're on a hiding to nothing. And they do get battered sometimes. In some of the games when they're in the Champions League, they have had some really, really heavy. And it's not a good advert for the Scottish game. 10, 15, 20 years ago, Scottish teams in Europe were competitive. Now, they're not. Is just the long answer, or the short answer, really. They're not as competitive as they have been. They're not developing the players they used to. The quality is, I mean, your best players get poached by the clubs. As I said, the Scottish clubs and the Scottish FA have to sit down together and work out what has gone wrong over so many years now. They keep going back to the same managers at Scotland. They keep just rotating See, this is the problem. If you're a Rangers fan and Rangers were to play PSG and get battered 7-1, you would be furious with your team. But also, you know that the golfing class is there. That is how big the golfing class, and the French league, by the way, is not a competitive league in France. Um, the PSG are basically breaching financial fair play, and they basically bought the title for the next foreseeable future. The French league is very uncompetitive. Outside the top two, which is PSG and Monaco, there isn't much really. Um, the competitive level is not there because PSG and Monaco have all the money, and PSG has twice the money of Monaco, and the Monaco owner is getting frustrated with financial fair play not being enforced. Because look, they spent £250 million on Neymar. You can just, you can buy whoever you want. Um, there's no competitiveness. This is the problem. The French league is not a good league, really. It's PSG first, Monaco second, and some other couple of teams will finish third and fourth, and then fifth and get into the European places. It's not a competitive league at all. Not what it used to be. Anyway, it used to be more competitive than it is now. Um, it stopped being competitive in the mid-90s. It started to lose its competitiveness. A lot of good French players left the French league, and look where we are now. It's what it is. PSG have basically bought the league for themselves for a long period of time. We're talking the next 10, 15 years, they could win almost every season. They have the money to do it because financial fair play, UEFA rule is not being enforced correctly. Well, PSG, they have all the money, but they can't win the Champions League. That's a tough one. Honestly, top team in a European Soccer League. I don't know. I could not answer that. The Greek league's fixed. So when you say top team, the Greek league is fixed. Match fixing. Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, AEK, AOK. They've all had links to match fixing. The guy who owns Nottingham Forest also owns Olympiakos or Panathinaikos. I can't remember which one. He's been charged with match fixing. The Greek league is the most fixed league you could possibly find in the last 10 years. And it's a mess. The Greek league is corrupt. The Turkish league is corrupt. Some of the Italian leagues are corrupt. I would say probably the Portuguese league is probably the weakest league that doesn't have match fixing in it. Maybe the French league. But the football leagues around the world, there's a big issue with match fixing and corruption. There's a massive, massive issue there. And organised crime as a big thing with European football. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how corrupt the leagues are. It's embarrassing how corrupt the clubs are and the club owners and the players are in it as well. It's just nothing is good about Greek football, Turkish football. What team would you support to watch Premier League? Probably Aberdeen. Probably Aberdeen. Members of my family spent a lot of time up in Scotland because of the oil industry. So Aberdeen would probably be a club that I would support. But also, I don't really enjoy watching football anymore at the moment. I will probably watch the World Cup, but I won't enjoy watching it as much as I used to. Is what it is. Dunfermline. I think Dunfermline still are in the Scottish Premier League. I know Dumbarton are in Championship, but here's the thing. As I say, the Scottish League isn't very, very competitive anymore, and this is a problem with leagues all over Europe. But I've had enough of talking football. Let's talk some other sports because I would rather talk about more sports than just football. Really, um, I understand the questions you're asking, and then they are good questions, and some of them have me a bit stumped. I mean, I can't give you an honest answer on. Well, I can give you an honest answer, but the issue with some European leagues is they have a lot of match fixing. Um, and I could go on about match fixing in multiple sports and how rife it is. But I like your enthusiasm, Mr. Yellow Skull, with Rangers. If it does happen, it does make it a bit more interesting in Scotland. If you or Aberdeen finally get to pip Celtic to the title, it makes it very interesting going forward. But until one of you two, between Aberdeen and Rangers, beat Celtic to the title, it will still be, you know, how by how much are Celtic going to win the league. Well, I think Nashville over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, they've started to stutter a little bit. And I think they're bringing him in to rest players for the playoffs. He will be a utility player just to give him some experience. Um, it will be interesting. He was at the morning skate. A lot of these prospects and rookies haven't played a lot in the NHL this season. I know we've got players like um, Connor McDavid, for example, who as soon as he was drafted, he was straight in the Edmonton Oilers lineup. Kyle Connors this season, he hasn't always been in the Jets lineup. He's gone down to the AHL to the Manitoba Moose. So some of these rookies and prospects haven't played NHL yet. I think he'll get a lot of games, the last few 5-6 games in the regular season, and yeah, he'll be in the playoffs for sure. I think he's there to cover injuries. They want to blood him now to give him some first team experience. We'll have to see. The playoffs is a different type of hockey. It's more intense. Some of these young prospects and rookies sometimes shine in the playoffs. Sometimes they will under pressure. We shall have to see. But the way Nashville are coached and the whole franchise, I think he's in one of the best franchises to be thrown into playoff hockey because he's got a lot of experienced players around him, young and old. And I think they'll just slot him in somewhere. He will get some good ice time, and he will make a positive contribution to the team. Whether if Nashville go on to win, then he's part of a winning Stanley Cup side, and he's only played, let's say, 25 games for them. I could see that happening. At the same time, he's obviously impressed enough to be selected and called up. So we shall see what kind of impact he will have. I'm assuming it will be a positive one. Otherwise, why has he been called up? Can Scan or Cricket do that? No, Australia will still be able to pick a team. There's enough players playing Sheffield Shield who haven't been coached by Darren Lehman, who haven't been around the setup that could play. They can pick a team. What's happened with Australian cricket has been that last year and the year before there was the wrangling over centralised contracts. Of course, two of the three players involved were part of that playing group who were whinging about contracts and revenue sharing. So Cricket Australia, eventually came to a settlement with the players. The issue is a lot of the TV deals in Australia all seem to terminate at the same time. All the sports seem to have the TV deals roughly at the same time. Cricket Australia clearly has some structural issues. They were trying to get all these new sponsorship deals done when really they should have been going right. The Ashes is done. That's when they should have got the sponsorship deals done. They're allowing the players far too much leeway in their sponsorship deals. Warner and Smith earning too much money, and it's not just them; it's throughout the team. They're earning too much money. They're playing in outside of Australia. A lot of they play their county cricket every so often. Australians will come over here to the UK to play county cricket, and then they obviously go back to Australia, play the Sheffield Shield. You've got the Big Bash. You've got the English version of the Big Bash with the cities T20. You've got the IPL. You've got the Bangladeshi League. You've got the Pakistani one dayers. You've got the West Indies. Some of these Australian players rarely play in Australia, so they're not supervised by the Central Cricket Board. They're earning big money. Cricket Australia hasn't really been. Cricket Australia, Michael Clarke gave an interview the other day in the aftermath of what's come out, and he said back in the day it was captain, coach. That was the link between Cricket Australia and the team. Was the vice captain, and the coach, and another player who would eventually become part of the leadership group would be invited in on a tour to sit in when it comes to discussing tactics for the day. Michael Clarke said, right, then we had like a change in the structure. The structure changed, and you've got very, very lots of layers. You've got a performance director, you have fitness thing, then you've got the press office. There's too many layers in there. So it's become unwieldy. Between the Ducks, Kings, Blues, and Avalanche, who do you think wins the playoffs? Interesting one. I honestly think it could come down to the last day. The Blues had that massive struggle after the trade deadline. Paul Stasny, why they allowed him to go to us for such limited back, I have no idea. As a rental, that I think that was bizarre, because we could then sign Stasny long term as well, because he's a free agent in the summer. So I think that decision was high risk. I would probably say the Kings at the moment, but that's just a shot in the dark. I think there's still those few games left. It'll be between the Kings and the Blues who miss out. It's just a shot in the dark. The Avalanche could do, the Ducks could do. It's so tight. Depending on how the results go tonight, because there's a lot of games today. Dan and I could probably give you a better answer at like 4 o'clock in the morning my time, because obviously I'm over in the UK. I'm assuming you're out in North America. I would be able to give you a better idea at like 4 o'clock my time tomorrow morning, because of all the games being played today. My team, yeah, you have mentioned that you support the Newcastle Falcons before. The way you're playing, you're definitely going to be in the top four for the playoff structure. You won't ring. I think Exeter are going to win the regular season, but you do have every chance to win in that playoff format at the top end. You have a chance. It's an outside chance, but it is there. Hey, Casey. That is amazing that you've already signed 3 players already. Normally, there's a bit of a break, but that's good to see that you're keeping a good court together at Swindon, the Wildcats. It's a very, very, very good sign. I think there will be a higher player turnover this year. We have to see what happens with Basingstoke. If the Basingstoke Bison do not have any rinks sorted out for the following seasons, including this year going onwards, there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be moving around, so the rosters can all fit together. I because of the import rule and how you fell foul with the all sorts. The ice hockey, there's different rules for each league. There's a regular season, and then you have playoffs. Each league has its own different rule sets, but the basic principles are the same. It's a 200-meter rink, or 200-foot rink, I should say. The positioning's all the same. You'll have 5 players and a goalie on as your starting lineups. You have 3 forwards and 2 defensemen as your starting positions. That's how you have 4 lines of 3 forwards and 3 pairs of defensemen and a goaltender plus a spare goalie on the bench. If you watch leagues like the NHL, and the North American leagues, they have a 2 ref, 2 linesman system. Most of the leagues in Europe have a 1 ref, 2 linesman system. It depends on the level of the league's quality. You can fight. Players can kick lumps out of each other within reason. But there is a playoff structure as well. It varies from league to league. Some leagues, the playoffs are completely random. Other leagues, the top half seeds can pick their opponents from the lower half seeds. Other leagues are conferences and divisions. But basically, you play home and away games. There's a fixture list, very similar to football. There are some rivalries. Some of them are exceptionally heated. The best way I can probably best in ice hockey, the biggest team in the world is the Toronto Maple Leafs. But every fan base is going to say that our team is the best. But it will be an NHL team. At the moment, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're the reigning Stanley Cup champions in the NHL. But every fan base says their team is the best. The most successful team in NHL history is the Montreal Canadiens. Toronto Maple Leafs are the second most successful, and then after that, the Stanley Cups get shared out pretty evenly. But in all honesty, the rivalries in the NHL, some of them are absolutely brutal. The fans don't like each other much. The players don't like each other very much, and it normally ends up in a big line brawl. Yes, the Golden Knights have done exceptionally well in their first season. They are record breakers for an expansion team. The playoffs will be interesting because that's 7-game series, and you've got to win a best of 7. But they've got in there by right. They've qualified. They've cooled off a little bit this season. They've cooled off a little bit the last couple of weeks. They've started to slow down. I wouldn't be surprised if some of their prospects get a chance in the lineup. I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of their prospects get a couple of games here or there. They rotate some of the players, so that'll be interesting. Yes, the Bison, Bradley Westwood all have great rivalries, but I fear that the Basin State Bison will not have a team next year, and that's where Casey, there's going to be a lot of player turnover. So the fact you've already signed 3 players straight away is a good sign. Normally, there's a gap of a couple of weeks, and but I can see a higher player turnover this year than in previous years. The Flash is an interesting one. Maybe the Thing block out the net. Pucks are made of rubber, so that'd be interesting. One of the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Maybe Deadpool where he sliced the puck in half. The Oxford City Stars could come up. But if the Basingstoke Boys can go out of business, then it's going to ruin the league and make it an odd number again. I think they want to have the league at 10. I'm surprised if Chelmsford get brought up as well. We'll have to see what happens in the off season. Last season was all a bit. Yes, you can get NHL 18. You can get it on Xbox One. It's a pain in the arse to play though. It's not as great as it used to be. But yeah, you can get the NHL titles on Xbox One. You can find them on eBay. You can find them on all sorts. Yeah, I wasn't expecting an ice hockey chat on the channel tonight. The Hulk can just hit you got to make the Hulk angry because if he's not angry, he's just going to be a normal man. I would go for Deadpool because he will chirp. He'll be a great chirper. He'll be like a Ron Hextall, Felix Potvin type character in there. Patrick Waugh kind of character. But it's interesting that we've gone from football, soccer to ice hockey. We've missed out all the other sports altogether. That's quite an interesting, but again, great questions. I mean, there are other YouTubers out there who are sports specific. So if you want to get into ice hockey or you want to get into soccer or football, wherever you are in the world, there are other YouTubers out there. Some of them subscribe to my channel, and I subscribe back. Others I subscribe to. Oh, yeah, but Casey, it's important that you keep your core together because you've got some young players in your team. So for Swindon to get a lot of their signings done early is really really important. Um, Normally, the teams will wait until all the playoffs are completely finished before they start doing player moves because some players will. There'll be a high. I think there's going to be a lot of player movement this summer. I do think a lot of the lineups will be a lot different from last season. So it's very important that you do keep your core together, and I think you're going to have a very good season next season because you have done that. Right. Uh, uh, right. I don't think everyone's a football fan in here. There's some ice hockey fans in here. It, it, all I say is this: it's all friendly banter in here. The last live stream, we had a couple of idiots, and we had to, block them and report them. So whoever you support whoever you support in whatever sport. I personally love the sports banter between rival fans, as long as it's in good humour. Um, but for some reason, some sports and some rivalries bring out the worst in the fans and the players and the owners. Let's go, man! Sport. Let's go. Madness. But no, one way. What is the weirdest experiment that any league has tried? Any sport for me? It's Singapore slingers. Very much weirdest sports experiment. I would think changing the postseason format in some of the North American sports. Not all fans have been happy with the change in conferences and divisions for the NHL. They've gone from 8 divisions to 4, and they've altered the conferences by moving teams. That's a sporting experiment. But I would say, but it depends what you mean by sporting experiment, because at the moment we're experimenting with VAR in soccer and football. Um, and it's been hit and miss. And yes, I do watch darts, but not as much as I used to. Uh, in the British Ice Hockey League at the National Ice Hockey, I don't mind 4 or 2 imports. I felt that the league was much more interesting with 2. It was different. I wasn't expecting to enjoy um, British ice hockey as much with that import rule change, but I've been stuck because I was so used to 4. But it was good to see more young British players play. But at the same time, the quality level was a bit less, and you could see a lot more mistakes. That will change over time, and we will see what changes they make to the import rules going forward. Yes, I do watch American football. Over in the UK, obviously they take the road games to London, the international series. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. Sorry, um, but the issue with American football is, and a lot of non-North Americans say the same about Canadian football as well, is obviously because it's very stop-start. There's a lot of breaks in play, and it it's great tactically. So you can see all the tactics and how they're setting up the plays, but between each play, it's too long, it's too stop-start, it's too slow, and that tends to make Europeans get bored. They like seeing action a lot, not just stop-start. It has to be flowing. That's why rugby and ice hockey and what we would call football, what you would call soccer, is yeah. That's what annoys me. Is it's a great game, but it has to be played quickly, play by play. There are too many breaks. It doesn't flow. Agreed. It does not flow. It does not flow enough because of the stop-start nature of it. The tactical nous behind it is brilliant, but you went on a map. Well, in respect, Casey, to what he's tweeted, you have to be careful with your social media accounts when you are accusing, especially if they're your employer, which is basically what the league is, because they control the league he plays in. We shall have we have to see what the rules are for next season. I think teams will be aware of that youth player rule because you fell foul of it. Um, um, American football evolved out of rugby. That's how it evolved. Really, then they started playing it professionally. Most games turn into sports by pure accident. Um, there's always been some kind of. You've got to think of medieval jousting and the tournaments. They were again designed with a military aspect in mind. Um, and the army did push a lot of sports because it was good for unit morale and for fitness. So a lot of these sports that are really popular now, obviously were popular back in Victorian times and in the 1890s. The military, when First World War and Second World War came along, realised the benefit of really getting their soldiers to participate in because it kept them fit. It helped with teamwork, it helped with communication, and tactics, of course. Well, the thing is, with the four import rule, you were allowed to have five imports on your team, but one was meant to be an injury backup. Obviously, that's changed. We're now on a two import rule. Um, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they ban all imports from next year. Whether that will have a positive or negative effect on the league, we don't know. I don't think they can get away with banning all imports personally because of freedom of movement and um, because it's a world game now. Well, they are a subsidiary of Cardiff Devils, and the Cardiff Devils have had a very successful season. They've got a lot of players in there on two-way contracts. Um, they have managed to field two teams in both Division One and Division Two South. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they just conglomerate it into one team and release some of their players to the youth level teams. They made some signings. They've got some good players. I think there was a baptism of fire for them. It's a very bear in mind the Cardiff Fire have only been going since 2015. They've only been going for 3 years. This was a baptism of fire that they weren't ready for. I think they will learn from it. My friend Sam never ever. Well, then it's a fully amateur team. Then I think that's the issue. Why there's a gap between the team from Invicta and the Cardiff uh, Fire, and they can't. They will have to address that next season. That may get put into the rules that you have to be able to financially pay the players for their appearance fee. Um, we'll have to see what happens. But again, are these confirmed facts or are these rumours that are going around to explain why they were so bad? Because we've had issues in British ice hockey where, hey, you see, we're spreading the love. It's not the best website out there. Some of the other teams in the league have better website than us. Our site is a bit village, if I would say so. The Nottingham Panthers have a very good team. One of the Bees players, Josh Tetlow, is on a two-way contract with them and us. And he got a lot of games at Nottingham this season, which was to our detriment because we needed him. He's a very good young defenseman. You can also fight a bit as well. Uh, the, the the thing is, British ice hockey had money once. It needs to get that injection because the interest is there, the fan base is there. We have a lot of fans in this country, in the UK, who support ice hockey. And there's a channel I follow called the Hockey Guy. Um, I think you asked me this before. I'm a ex Chiefs and rugby league. It's in Australia. It's the NRL Canberra Raiders. They're the rugby teams I support. Well, if I can get back to wow, I wasn't aware this live stream would just revert to ice hockey. I think that's how peed off everyone is with other sports around the world. Really, um, a lot of people aren't happy with how sports are run at the moment. British ice hockey has issues. Yeah, I watch him and I'm British. And a lot of I I've been following him now for about a year. I stumbled across his channel not long after I started producing my own content. I just stumbled across it by accident, um, looking for some NHL, and I found him. The thing is with cricket at the moment, you just what's come out is very damaging because other fines have been, and yeah, I think the NRL completely mishandled. I don't trust Todd Greenberg as the CEO of the NRL. He's a bit of a shifty character to me. I think the people running Australian sport at the moment all seem to be the Nottingham Panthers and Sheffield Steelers and Cardiff Devils have all done really well in in domestic and European competition this season. Um, so yeah, I can see them being included in NHL 19 and 20 and 21. Of course, I can. Not a problem. I can quite happily see them being included on the NHL games. I don't like some of the game mechanics though that EA have gone down in the last few years. I've barely played NHL 18. I've had it since it came out, and I've barely played it. I'm not a big fan of some of the game mechanics they've done, and a lot of YouTubers who are hockey YouTubers. Odd Man Rush is one, and Jens95 is another, and they are very scathing of the game. They are very, very, very scathing of well. Jens95 is exceptionally scathing of the game. Odd Man Rush seems to enjoy it because the elite league teams are in there. But Jens95 is a is hockey. um, Probably. I think if you enjoy rugby, there's some good stories coming out of rugby at the moment. There are some bad stories and some negative stories in rugby, both league and union. But rugby is a good sport to get involved in. The Scottish Edinburgh and Glasgow are both doing very well in the Pro 14. Rugby league, okay, there's been some ups and downs there with individual players and certain teams having issues. But ice hockey at the moment, not all is well with ice hockey. May I just add? If you type in Gary Betchman on the internet and the CTE lawsuit, you'll find out um, that they are completely the league of denial when it comes to brain injuries. Completely in denial. Old Man Rush also does some uh, gaming videos as well, not just NHL and ice hockey. He does some gaming videos on his channel, which are kind of sometimes are quite funny, sometimes I'm not a big fan of. But hey, he does what he does. You got British Hockey Fights UK. They're another fun channel. Um, yeah, you got the CTE lawsuit and the goal interferences. I think the offside challenge. I think they've sort of started to work that one out, but the goal interference is a complete um, nightmare. I think every team has fallen afoul of what is clearly foul play on the goaltender, and it hasn't been called. And Gary Betchman is just winding everyone up with that. With the referees are overthinking it. I honestly think it's time for Betchman and some of his cronies to go and get some fresh ideas in the running of the NHL because that's putting off new fans. Because if when what the NHL does, other leagues around the world in ice hockey follow. And I've seen it in the British leagues where goalie interference has also been called equally. But British refereeing is appalling anyway. But goal interference is just not getting called. Goaltenders are getting frustrated. There's scrums around the net, and then you get a 10-minute misconduct penalty because you badmouthed the ref or you carried on a bit too long in the scrum. Leeds Rhinos, they unfortunately against Melbourne Storm, they were battered in the World Club Challenge, which I was not predicting at all. But I was expecting a closer game. That's why I think the Super League has got a bit of a gap to catch up to NRL. Format system, yeah. No, the league can't afford it in the British National Ice Hockey League level. It just cannot afford it. There's not enough money in the lower levels, and that is a problem. Um, I wasn't aware the Elite League had two linesman system, but I suppose again, when the NHL leads, other major leagues will follow. Um, in the British NIHL, at some point, possibly we may be able to have enough officials. It's actually not necessarily um, that we couldn't do it. It's, are there enough officials? Is there actually enough qualified officials to cover not only just the Elite League, but then the National Ice Hockey League in the UK, both North and South, because the amount of teams that actually play, are there enough officials to do it? And are we putting off officials from taking up because of the abuse that players and fans give them? This was what was raised in a video I did earlier with about football refereeing. Uh, in the UK, I'm a Bracknell Bees fan. In the NHL, I'm a Jets fan. Um, I've got many videos on my channel where I cover both teams. Um, Casey is a Swindon Wildcats fan in ice hockey. I don't know about other people. I mean, some other people on this channel aren't have never really got into ice hockey before. I'll be very interested to hear what other people put down. I've seen some new faces in the chat tonight, so welcome. Um, in the last few days, the subscription level on the channel has gone through the roof. So I don't know what leagues and what teams and what sports everyone follows, but clearly people are interested in what I have to say. Otherwise, they wouldn't follow the channel. Um, what did the what do? Well, they got to update it. Basically, there's a playoff structure. They beat us, which was embarrassing because we used to be in the league above them until that league folded. Playoffs, they beat us at home because, well, we were terrible, and they beat us at their place. Um, um, I've got to check the Twitter now. They're into the next round of play. The playoff structure is still going. I think they got knocked out in the following round because that would have been last weekend. And now we're on to the final few teams. They're not in the playoffs anymore. They got through the first round. They got the second round and got knocked out, I believe. But sometimes they don't. The website isn't well updated at times. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for some of the results to come through. Um, um, But yeah, they beat us, which was annoying. We were favourites to win that, but then in the regular season, we lost our last league game. We were 4-1 up against Swindon, and we lost 6-4 with 7 minutes left. We conceded 5 goals, so it ruined the home and away tie because of the top four seeds play at home and etc. Yes, I did play poker. Yes, I used to play along about 10 years ago. When I was 18, 19, 20, I used to play semi-pro level, but I never got on TV. I was close, never got to TV. I haven't played in a while. Be nice to get back into it, but I've got to find okay, a little bit when it first really got popular, but now I don't watch it as much as I used to. 10 years ago, when I was playing, I was watching TV poker all the time. I really was, but I don't watch it as much as I used to. Anything, not now. I'm a little bit less fun than it was when it first really became big about 5, 10 years ago. Now it's on late at night, and I'm normally asleep when it's on, so I just don't really want to stay up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to watch a poker tournament. Um, for a nine for a 19-year-old, his beard is epic. I'm 28, and this is my beard, and I've been growing this for a while. His beard is better than mine. It is highly annoying. Um, it makes him look a. He's got a fair beard. I would have to give him that. Me trash talking poker? No, not really. I think my silence may have been more interesting. Some guys were very chatty, and what they want you to do is get distracted, get annoyed, get riled up. So I'll just sit there and have have a beer, have a soft drink, say nothing, be very, 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 very calm and collected. Just get on with it. Everyone's got to tell. Some people talk a lot when they're nervous. Others, uh, yeah, I know the one you mean, the Unabomber. There's one or two who bear in mind these guys are multimillionaires dressed like tramps and look really scruffy. Um, I don't really follow the TV poker as much as I used to. I haven't seen it for a couple of years on TV. I haven't watched it. Phil Lack, yeah, that's it. Um, I don't, as I say, I used to play it, and this is when TV tournaments and those big tournaments were getting really, really popular, and there was a lot of semi-pro leagues and amateur leagues popping up to qualify for the bigger tournaments. So 10 years ago, yeah, I was well into my poker. I was watching it every night. I was playing every day. Disc golf. What's disc golf? Disc golf. What is disc golf? If I'm honest, I've never actually heard of disc golf. This is why I love this channel. I'm finding out new stuff myself. I've never heard of disc golf before. Honestly, never heard of it. I'm gonna have to look that up now. Let's have a look at disc golf because that's the first I've ever heard of that. I'm gonna have to look this up now. Um, let's see what it is. Disc uh, golf. Let's have a look. Disc golf UK. Let's see what they say about it. Apparently there's one not that far from my house. There's one 5 miles from my house that play it. Did not know that. Research, and I might do. Yes, I did. They've been found not guilty, and that makes it very, very interesting. What because the Northern Ireland legal system is. All right, okay, disc golf. Okay, yeah, I can see that being popular. So, but bear in mind the Northern Ireland legal system is different to Scotland's, which is also different to the rest of England and Wales. I don't know how their legal system works in Northern Ireland. They obviously, because of the Troubles and the IRA and the Loyalists and the Red Hand Gang and the UDA and things like that, because of the paramilitary activity in the Troubles 30, 40 years ago, they had to sort of alter the legal system to protect witnesses. Especially, and there is a slightly different legal system. Um, the basic principle, though, is the same as any legal system you have in the UK is trial by jury. It's just a little bit different on how they work it out. They were found not guilty until the trial actually took place. I wasn't aware of anything. I noticed that Paddy Jackson hadn't been selected for Ireland for a while, so I'm assuming part of the process because Carberry was selected at reserve fly half for the Irish in the Six Nations. I noticed Paddy Jackson hadn't been selected by the Irish rugby national side for a good 12 to 16 months. And I was not aware that obviously what was happening until the trial that took place. I haven't really followed well, this is what damages those actual victims who are out there, men and women, of any crime, is those who cry wolf. Now, I'm not saying this poor girl did, but there's been a lot of these cases of sexual assault charges or rape charges or sexual harassment that have collapsed because there is a lack of evidence, or it has been proven that the so-called victim has lied and the CPS and the police knew about it. So to get through all the way and be found not guilty, there's obviously been a oh yeah, I've seen it on Twitter. The thing is, a lot of these rape cases in the UK, especially in the London area, have collapsed because of there was the evidence there that these guys were innocent, and the so-called victims had actually lied about what they did, and there's even emails and text messages stating that. So there's a big investigation into the CPS at the moment. Now, this is slightly off sport, but this is not the first time that sports stars have had this type of allegation against them. If you look in the rugby league, Jared Hayne has an allegation against him in America when he was playing NFL. Robinho's had an allegation against him. He's been tried and convicted in his absence. With a lot of money, they make a lot of silly decisions, and it's not just this type of conduct. It's across the board. This is why I think we need to look at how much we're paying these young players in sport. How much we pay them. Um, a lot of these young guys are paid a lot of money. Some of them, depending on the sport they're in, are not of the highest. Haven't been done well educationally at school. They've excelled at sport, but they haven't excelled at maths or English. So they're not necessarily got degrees in philosophy and things like that. So they haven't, achieved academically, and they're throwing money at them. Money gets thrown at them, and they end up in this situation. Ched Evans is another prime example of a sportsman who's ended up down this path, and in the end had his conviction thrown out after a retrial. So um, ice hockey, because there's rotating substitutions. Basically, you can roll, you change over. You'll notice line changes. There's no interchange limit. Um, yeah, there's a lot of scandals. It's because a lot of these athletes in the NRL and the AFL, rugby union, rugby league in the UK, football, especially football, as you would call it, soccer in Australia. This is nothing new. Uh, any pro sport, most sportsmen and women, most people who compete in sports are men, and they're aged between 18 and 30 odd, and most of them are young, and people throw money at them, and things happen. Um, and it's not just that they will get involved in drinking too much, partying hard, drugs, um, all sorts. This is a thing that is not going to go away. Some of these kids need to have proper guidance. They don't have it, and this is a failure of their clubs. This is a failure of their management teams, and it's also partly a failing on their part as well. Um, the fact they've been found innocent, we have to, it's trial by jury in the UK. Wayne Carey, you're going to have to remind me who Wayne Carey is, because I don't have to keep looking at my phone every time someone mentions something I don't know, because I'm learning stuff as a I love my sport. I'm learning stuff from you guys in this live chat. Um, I'm going to have to look him up, but I vaguely remember the name. I'm assuming it was a similar thing and had a lot of money thrown at him. What do you expect is going to happen to an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who's suddenly got a contract worth anywhere from a few £100,000 a year to a couple of million a year with endorsements? What do you think is going to happen? This is the problem. This is the issue. Is what do people expect to happen when some of these young kids who are coming from very deprived backgrounds in some sports, they're from very, very poor areas, very, you know, they might come from poor rural areas or poor urban areas in big cities, and the average wage of where they're from is like what, 30,000 a year, less, and they're earning 10 times that. What do you think is going to happen? Their old schoolmates who are going to be probably involved in crime, involved in some of the silly stuff, are going to still hang around them, but they're going to hang around them because they've got the money, and young kids end up in a situation all the time. I've been in a bit of a mess myself as a teenager. I did a lot of stupid stuff. I didn't have money, so now you've got to remember what you were like when you were a teenager, and you've got to put yourself, go right, teenager or early 20s, but on big money, and and then they end up in these situations, whether they're guilty or not. Some kind of issue happens, be it drink, women, drugs, women athletes as well, they're not immune from doing silly things. It's just less well known. This is the thing, the drugs aspect. A lot of these young sportsmen and some young sportswomen as well, because Hope Solo, the American women's US football soccer goalie, she's had a very checkered career. Child abuse. She beat her niece or nephew up. Spousal abuse. All sorts. This is the thing. The cocaine aspect or the drugs aspect is more common than people realise. Martina Hingis, yeah, no, she prime example, young, talented athlete, from a reasonably well-off background, but not overly wealthy. Lots of money thrown at them, and this comes down to okay, you've obviously got to be pretty strong-willed yourself, but you've got to remember the people around you have got to take some responsibility. If they know you've got an issue, they've got to step in and help. Is it Todd Carney, the rugby league player, who's been done for like car theft and drink driving and drunken assault? Mitchell Pearce in the rugby league. Stan Collymore beat up Eureka Johnson, but then it's Eureka Johnson. So, and I've met Stan Collymore. He's not a nice bloke. I don't like him. We've had George Best, alcoholic. Paul Gascoigne, Gaza, alcoholic, drug addict. I've done so many videos on drugs, alcohol, mental health with sportsmen and women, and Ben Cousins, I know about him. I know about Ben Cousins. Look how many examples we can name of sportsmen and women who, when they were young, had lots of money thrown at them very, very quickly, and did stupid stuff. It is out there. So what's happened with Paddy Jackson and his teammate is very similar to the Ched Evans case, and later on that was proven to. He was found innocent after a second trial and a stint in prison. Oh yeah, Ben Cousins, crystal meth. Yeah, that's not that's a problem. This is the issue. This is a very dark twist. This live chat's taken tonight. We've gone from trying to get people involved into ice hockey into let's talk about drugs and sex and alcohol. But this is the problem. This is an issue that many young athletes at all levels, and I've done many videos on is there a drink culture, because you've got to look at team culture as well. There's a reason why the Ched Evans trial when he was playing at Sheffield United, prime example, he was Fortnite. Yeah, I don't play it. I know it's on Xbox. I don't play it. It's just not my thing. That's a nice change of pace, isn't it? Let's talk about Fortnite. I know it's a very popular game at the moment. It's just not my type of game that I would play. I'm not into that type of game, but I know what it is, yes. Right. I would say another the direction that the live stream's going. If a lot of questions are getting asked, I'll keep going. If it starts to slow down, I think I might call it a night. So any more questions? Next 15 minutes, let's see how many questions we can get done. Fear of heights, you will never see me hang glide. No, not doing that. Yeah. No, I would never hang glide. Me and heights do not mix very well. I would probably throw up everywhere. Other sports, yes. Hang gliding, no. I never thought I'd get asked that on a live stream. Hang gliding, that's interesting. The Rugby Champions Cup. Rugby Champions Cup. The thing is, because BT Sport seems to have a lot of the rights, and I'm not a fan of BT Sport and Sky Sports as well. It's very hard to pick up bits and pieces. The few games I have seen have been very interesting and very, and it's good to see European competition and things like that. I followed the American Championships I've got a few questions coming in. Is there an ice hockey app? The NHL app in the UK is crap. Outside the UK, in North America, it's brilliant, but in the UK, it's not great. So there are NHL, there are ice hockey apps out there. The best app for any sport is LiveScore. You want to keep up to date with how teams are doing and who they're playing. LiveScore is a good app, but the NHL app is not great in the UK. It's designed for the North American market. It does for some reason. It's terrible over here. I couldn't even. Right, okay. But if you are interested in ice hockey, there are several websites out there. You've got the Elite League. That's a great way teams in the Elite League. I find enjoying it very much. Um, but I've tried my hand at several sports in my time, and the ones I prefer most were cricket, rugby. Yeah, my style is just to do. It's to do with the weather over here in the UK. We've had a lot of bad weather. I understand the stream isn't great, and that's to do with the internet. We've had a few issues. It's nothing I can control, I'm afraid. Hopefully, when it uploads, you can rewatch the video again. You know, hopefully it uploads and it's all good. It's mostly down to the internet over here. It's something I can't control. Um, I've had a few issues the last day or so, but I'm not the only one. I can't control the internet, I'm afraid. BT internet is shit, but I can't control it. I'm hoping it's a bit better quality. It's honestly, it was the first game I ever saw on TV when I was 3 years old. It was a Blackburn game. I was three. I was with my dad, and he was a Liverpool fan, and they happened to be playing against each other in the Premier League. When I watch Anthony Joshua, I probably will be in a pub where it's been shown. Obviously, I like supporting British athletes. I hope he does well. He's a very very good fighter. We'll have to see. You know, if he does win, that's brilliant. But we have to see how he does. Wednesday, Jack Friday. Anthony Joshua. Oh, I'm trying to remember who Anthony Joshua's fighting now. Oh, I can't remember who he's fighting now. It's coming up. It's in the next few days. I've got to see who Anthony Joshua's fighting now. Give us a second, and I'll find out. Anthony Joshua. Oh yeah, he's fighting the New Zealander Parker. That's it. If I can catch it, I will watch it. If not, I'm not overly fussed. In the last live stream, I mentioned my concerns with the refereeing standard of boxing at the moment is not good enough, and same with UFC as well. All these mixed martial arts and boxing and kickboxing and MMA and things like that. There's an issue with officiating not being of a very good standard, and there's a lot of unnecessary injuries to fighters at the moment, which could be quite easily avoided if the referees did their job properly. There's been a few boxing deaths and some serious head injuries are perfectly avoidable. And I don't agree with the rule now that amateur boxers, male amateur boxers, not female, don't have to wear headgear anymore. I don't agree with that. But Anthony Joshua against Parker would be a fight. It's not going to be easy for him. We'll have to see how he does. I think he's slight favourite. A GCO live stream. The thing is, I'm not a gaming channel, and I don't intend to be a gaming channel. Because I already had one copyright violation in the last week because I was accidentally playing some music off my phone, and someone on YouTube's picked up and has had a whinge about the music I was playing. If I it's just I just don't. Yeah, but I'm not a gaming channel. I have no interest. I have no intention of being a gaming channel. But there are channels out there that do things like that. But GTA has been out there for so long now. So many people have done GTA live streams that is it really worth it? It's not a new thing. And I don't really play much of GTA these days. I play more GTA 4 than GTA 5. Um, I don't really play GTA Online. I just like going around the map doing the storyline, really. But I'm not. I'm a sports discussion channel. I'm not a gaming channel. It's not something that makes sense for me. If I'm honest, and I don't also have a webcam on my Xbox, so it's not going to work. But I already had one on my first live stream. I already had a copyright violation because I was playing music on my phone, and someone's complained about it, put in a copyright notice, and yeah, copyright violation. I haven't got a copyright strike, but I've already been warned about copyright. So it's something that you have to be very very careful with because someone out there just sits on the internet doing whatever, complains, and it's a whole kettle of fish I don't want to get into. Uh, yeah, I've got Call of Duty World War Two at the moment, and I'm half decent at it. So I'm more than happy to challenge you to a duel and show you how to play it. I've also got oh that was just embarrassing. Um, what made it worse was the fact that he already had lied in one press conference completely. The whole thing stinks to high heaven of something much worse. Notice in all the press conferences, David Warner is not there, and he is the main protagonist. So he's really hung out his teammates to dry. I feel Smith was not mature enough to be captain of Australia, and he was naive in what he agreed to. But you got to look at the bit when he's walking through the airport at Johannesburg before they actually decided to send him home from the Australia touring side to send him back home. And he needed a police escort to get out to his flight because the South African fans were going to lynch him before he got out of the airport. He would have not made it to his flight. They would have kicked the crap out of him. His press conference in Australia was just painful watching. Um, honestly, top level athlete knows it's against the rules, has been caught out. I have no sympathy. He knew what he was getting into because they had clearly been doing it for a long time. Obviously, David Warner was the instigator, and he's allowed his vice captain to overrule him. I have no sympathy. He really um, allowed himself to get himself in that position, but then to lie and to get his teammates to lie in front of the press, um, and they were so shameless in their lie. I have no sympathy for when he starts blubbering like a 6-year-old. I honestly, I have seen kids who've had better fortitude than that. And this is what annoys me is when we're kids at school, doesn't matter what sport we play, we're always taught cheating is wrong. It does not pay. And in this case, he's lost out on 4.6 million Australian dollars, I believe, or is it US dollars, in the next 12 months because of he's had his IPL contract ripped up. He's been suspended by Cricket Australia from all Australian domestic and international cricket. Um, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. They were experienced internationals with many Test caps behind them. Um, they knew exactly what they were doing. But the fact that they were so when they got caught, they could have said, "Yeah, okay," but they didn't. And even now, the coach Darren Lehman says it was just the players, and he realizes that that's a lie. Cricket Australia are feeding these people lies to save the camera while they try and It's all wrong, and it's very very interesting that David Warner has given no press conferences, no interviews, and he's gone to ground, which says to me there might be a hint of match fixing in there. No, Smith and Bancroft were the ones who went to the press and said, "Yeah, you know, we used tape." It later turned out to be sandpaper because Bancroft admitted, "Okay, I lied to you about like what I was using to tamper the ball with." Now, you weren't here at the start of the live stream, but the Cape Town dressing rooms are not very big. Now, as you can see, my room is not the biggest room in the world. It's sizable, but it's not the biggest. Um, it's a reasonably sized room. So if you look at my room, that's the size of my room. That is what I have, what I live in. The Cape Town dressing rooms are about twice the size of my bedroom. So you've got to imagine that you've got a whole team of players and your coaching staff and your medical support staff in a room that size. That the coaches didn't know. You see Darren Lehman on the walkie-talkie talking to 12th man to tell Bancroft to stop sandpapering the ball. Hey, I live in a big house. What can I say? I'm lucky. But that's the thing. What gets me is the size of the Cape Town dressing rooms are very very small. I have a South African friend who's actually been on a tour of the Cape Town stadium. They don't like all these big stadiums. They will have stadium tours for tourists, and the changing rooms are tiny. They're very very on top of each other. So the coach not knowing, don't buy that. Other players not knowing, I don't buy that either. I really am having a hard time. Plus, with the quality of batsmen that Smith and Warner are, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I went to school with a guy called John Smith. So on his 18th birthday, I bought him a 6 pack of John Smiths, and he wasn't very happy with that. But the I find it hard to believe that the bowlers weren't, aware of the ball tampering going on, because obviously they're the ones who are going to have to try and swing the ball out swinger or in swinger or reverse the swing, or the spin bowling wanting the ball to grip off the wicket to spin a bit differently. Yeah, the fact only 3 players, I find that very hard to believe. And David Warner's silence since he's got back to Australia is very, very telling. So I brought Zani's for my thing. I don't play FIFA, so I barely play NHL 18 anymore either. I'm not a big fan of the EA Sports titles. They're not very good these days. The game mechanics are not great. It is what it is. Right, it's 10 o'clock. So, if there's any more questions? Because I think I'm going to end the live stream here. I think, unless any more questions come up. Anyone else want anything else? Because I've been going over 2 hours now. No, the Aussies have match fixed before. Musical Neptunian is came to them and approached them and offered them money to fix or spot fix or match fix games. It's been going on. Oh, you vicious bastard. Yeah, this is going to be real fun. I can see myself having to order myself a bus. I suppose I've got enough jerseys on videos on them. Maybe to start collecting sports jerseys. Maybe if I get one, we'll have to buy myself a Burnley shirt. I do. I never thought I would buy a Burnley shirt. Oh no, it's terrible. Well, that's the way of life, isn't it? Okay, I honestly pledge that I hit subscribe. I will buy myself a Burn shirt. I will wear it on the channel, and it will subscribe there. On as well. Gosh, how big's the family? But no, at the same time, thank all you guys for but sorry with that guys being on take for 30 years. Oh god, I do worse things. To be fair, I've dressed up as a woman before in drag and walk through Michael Town for bet. So I can wear a Burn shirt for it's going to be the most painful experience of my life. But I wear a Burn shirt for a day. Oh god, oh that's a lot of people. That's a lot of subscribers. That's a lot. But last way about 20 subscribers. So without you guys, this channel's nothing. So I want to thank you guys for subscribing. And yes, I have now bought myself a Burnley shirt. I have to wear a Burnley shirt. Well, it can be added to my sports shirt collection, I suppose. I suppose I've got enough jerseys with enough videos on them. Maybe I should start collecting sports jerseys. That may be the thing. If I start getting monetized again, I will have to buy myself a Burnley shirt. Oh dear, I never thought I would say I'd buy myself a Burnley shirt. Oh no, this is terrible. Ah, well, that's the way to end a live stream, isn't it? um, okay, I honour this pledge that when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will buy myself a Burnley shirt and I will wear it on the channel, and it'll be a subscriber special. Oh, well, not family as well. Ah, gosh, how big is your family? Um, but no, at the same time, thank all you guys for ah, but jokes aside, without you guys, I've been taken off the team for years. Oh God, I've had to do worse things. To be fair, I've had to dress up as a woman before in drag and walk through my local town for a bet, so I can wear a Burnley shirt for a day. Um, it's going to be the most painful experience of my life, but I'll wear a Burnley shirt for a day. Um, oh God, oh that's a lot of people. That's a lot of subscribers. That's a lot. Oh, but in the last week, I have gained about 20 subscribers. So without you guys, this channel is nothing. So I want to say thank you to all you guys for subscribing. And yes, I have to now buy myself a Burnley shirt. It will happen. Um, but I do think I should actually start collecting more sports memorabilia. I actually think I should do that. That is something that I might have to do. Um, Embarrassing it may be, it might actually be a good thing. So we'll have to see how the channel does. But when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will remember this day and I will have to wear a Burnley shirt. Ah, yeah, this is terrible. I never thought at the end of my live stream I'd have to say I fucking love Burnley, but there you go. Oh, I said it. Oh, right. Oh, oh, just stop with the abuse. I'm trying to find the Blackburn score. Please, just let's have a look. Let's have a look at the sports headlines. Come on, come on, come on. Right, talking about the cricket ball tampering, concerns have been raised by the suspension length by Australia Cricket. And yeah, yeah. So where does that leave us? Can't believe I have Salah Burnley. Um, yes, Blackburn beat Bradford 2-0. So I'd have to say Burnley. And yeah, yeah. Um, so where does that leave us in the table? Can't believe I had to say Burnley. It's just, where we are? Top of the league again, and Wigan have got 2 games in hand. Blackburn first in League One, Shrewsbury second in League One, Wigan third in League One. It's coming. It's going. What do you have to say? No, I really don't. I really hate Burnley a lot. I've been there. It's a horrible place. I never want to go again. No, I secretly and openly hate Burnley. It's a shame. I refuse to say I love Burnley. I hate Burnley. There. What do you think in League One? We didn't fit in League One. I mean, it is. What do you have to say? No, I really don't. I hate Burnley a lot. I've been there. It's a horrible place. I never want to go again. No, I see and openly hate Burnley. It's a. I refuse to say I Burnley. I hate Burnley. There. What do you love? Who? I'm a Blackburn fan. I always have until the day I die. But a bet is a bet, and when I hit an agreement is an agreement. So when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will. I will. When I hit, I will purchase a Burnley shirt on a video. Uh, Dak and Conway, yeah. No, Burnley is a football football club, Casey, and it's also a massive dump in the northwest. I didn't tell them. No, Burnley is a town and a football club in the northwest that I specifically do not like. Right. Okay. I'm going to call it a night there, guys. Thank you very much for everyone who was involved in tonight's live stream. And we've worked out one thing. I am buying a Burnley shirt at some point this year, and I will have to wear it. Only now. Didn't always used to be this way. We've got a Premier League title. They don't. Yeah. And we've got a League Cup as well. They don't. Yeah. Fans of the Football League. Right. But anyway, thank you to everyone. Thank you for all your contributions tonight. And I'm going to call that an end to the live stream. So thank you very much. I'll have some more videos for you tomorrow. And I'll have another live stream on Sunday. I will merch Burnley shirt, wear a Burnley shirt video. Dak Conway, yeah. Burnley is a football club, Casey. It's all a massive bump in northwest. Burnley is a town and a football club in the northwest that I specifically not like. Right. Okay. Look at a night, guys. Thank you very much for everyone who was involved in this live stream. And we've worked out one thing. I am buying a Burnley shirt at some point this year, and I will have to wear it. Only now, it was usually this way. We've got a Premier League title, don't? Yeah. And got a league as well, don't? Yeah. Right. But anyway, thank you to everyone. Thank you for all your contributions tonight. And I'll not end the live stream. So thank you very much. I'll have some more videos for you tomorrow. And another stream on Sunday at 8 o'clock. So thank you very much. And ta-ra.